Yeah, so basically, we ranked the top 255 based off of projected top sevens of the 31 qualified teams and the individuals that are going to the meet. And so what I did is I went through and see where your athletes showed up in my rankings of the notable top 6 teams. And so you can kind of see where certain teams' strengths and weaknesses are and see kind of how the team total is playing out. And we bring this graphic up here. You can see NC State versus New Mexico. Kevin, what do you notice here in the breakdown between these rosters?
Well, New Mexico is going to have a real tight pack. You have them going 19-48, which is really, really tight for an NCAA championship style race. You have them scoring 142.
Yeah, 19-29 for their top 4. That's even tighter.
But that's what we would expect. That's been New Mexico's pattern the last couple of years. Now, before when they had Kaladi or some of the other superstars from years past, they would have a really low stick in there. But it's more just, is that group going to finish, 19-29, or could they possibly finish, 15-25 or 10-20? That's going to be the difference. And then the NC State side, all 7 you have in the top 90, which is good, but there's a gap there between 4 and 5 for them. So I think if you're NC State,
it's a big gap.
Yeah, if you're NC State, you feel really good about your 2 up front, obviously.
Yes.
And then it's just a matter of, hey, the rest of that group, can you get a low stick in 4 and 5? But it's like you look at NC State versus everybody else. It's like they have the better 1 than everybody else. They have the better 2 than everybody else.
Maybe not Alabama. Alabama might have a better 2.
Okay.
Potential.
But it's close.
Yeah.
And then 3 looks better. So then
they definitely have a better 3.
Yeah, and 4.
Maybe not though. Oklahoma State's 3. Villa Jepkuri.
Yeah.
She's right there with Bush. So that's when Alabama has a challenging number 2 versus NC State. Oklahoma State has a challenging number 3 against NC State.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets interesting. The big factor, which I said in the podcast a week or so ago, Sydney Seymour, I mean, she's one of the best runners. No one has a good 4 the way they do. And I've done analysis. I've looked back at the past 20 so years on both the men's and women's side. 90 to 95% of the time, the eventual winning team, whoever had the best number 4 runner, typically wins, because it's like a weird thing. Sometimes like the most important runner is your fifth runner, not necessarily. Or the most important runner is your number 1 stick, and you have someone like there's that analysis. No one's ever won without a 1 stick in the top 10.
Yeah, scoring 10.
Scoring in the top 10.
Yeah.
There's another analysis where if you compare all 31 teams' number 4 runners, whoever is the best number 4 runner on those 31 teams typically wins. And you look at this, Sydney Seymour, right now I've ranked 27th. New Mexico's number 4 runner, I have ranked 29th. Mm-hmm. So
that's pretty close.
And that makes sense. These 2 teams are close to the top 2 teams. And then you look at the number 4 runners of Oklahoma State and Alabama. Oklahoma State's Gabby Henderman, 42. That's going to be Oklahoma State's, like, are they going to be able to close that gap? Alabama, Lomina Asical, thank you. She's 38. So they're still All-American caliber, so they could get into the mix. And that's why these 4 teams are kind of separate from the rest, because they have good all number 4 runners. And typically your 4th runner needs to be top 40.
Well, and you see 2 separating from Oklahoma State and Alabama, and that's just because of that depth at 4 and 5. Now, Oklahoma State looks like they're in close enough range, and they'll be racing at home, so you don't want to count them out. But having a 5 score 100, that's really tough for your team chances. Because then you look on the flip side, both NC State and New Mexico are going to have 7 in before you even get to 100, let alone 5. So I think, it looks like it's going to be tight between New Mexico and NC State, with Oklahoma State having an outside shot at it. I would favor, this has been my position for the last couple weeks, NC State. I think because of the reasons I outlined above, having the better 1, having the better 2, and I just think they have so much depth. They have 7 women who have the potential to be top 50 on the right day.
Yeah.
And I just think enough of them are going to come through when it counts to give them a score in the 110 to 130 range, which should be enough.
And here's the thing about Oklahoma State and Alabama. Right now, they're in the 3-4 area range. Stephanie Moss, right now, their 5th runner, 100. Gabgia Galvidite, I don't know if I said the name, 109. And their 7th runner, Sivian Auerbach, 118. So 3 women, all potentially in the same range as their 5th runner.
Yeah.
If one of those 3 just runs out of their mind on their home course, instead of finishing 100, they finish 60th.
Yeah.
That's 40 points. You take 40 points away from their 171, they're down to 131, and then you're in range to potentially win. Same thing with Alabama.
Yeah.
Elka Machin, if she's like, because at the end of the day, what's the difference between finishing 141st and 80th? Not much.
Not much, but we also need to put in perspective, run out of your mind.
Yeah,
because this isn't basketball where you can catch fire
From
for a
3,
quarter
yeah.
or football where you can get a couple breaks. This is distance running.
That's true.
There are limits to it. Now, they can have a great day and other people around them can have bad days and you can make up some points, but there is a limit to how much you can expect from these runners.
I will say that. And also, this is analysis that I'll probably talk about more on the men's side, but I'll bring it up here on the women's side. You also look about where's the opportunity to improve.
Mm-hmm.
You look at NC State's top 4, you can't really see much room for improvement. Like, Caitlin Tui can't do better than 1, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The difference of Samantha Bush 14 to 9, that's only going to be 5. Like, their top 4, really, like, their ceiling is, they don't really have a higher ceiling to get to.
Yeah.
And same thing with a bunch of other schools. But if you look at it, Alabama and Oklahoma State could knock down a ton of points if one of their runners just runs out of their mind. Same thing with New Mexico a bit with their 5th runner. Notre Dame and NAU, that's what brings them into the mix because you look at their places, they have a bunch of women. NAU, I have right now 10, 31, 47, 75, 76. You know, if 3 of those women each knock 20 places off their spot, all of a sudden they're in the mix. Same thing with Notre Dame. I have them 16, 54, 56, 62, 69, and an 80. You know?
Well, they're closer.
Make that a 30-30, 40-40, and then all of a sudden Notre Dame's in the mix.
Well, they're closer to Alabama than Alabama is to Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, 3 teams. It's like 2 groups of 3 teams.
Yeah.
Or I guess you would extend.
Georgetown also should be talked about a bit.
Well, like NAU at 230, your prediction at 239, that's only 26 points back of Alabama. Yeah. So that's where, a couple runners knock off 10 points and then you're in business. For Alabama, those 4 are really solid.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting the 5th across the line. And NAU has NAU, their first runner could be behind Alabama's 3rd runner, realistically.
Yeah.
And they could still manage to beat them.
Yeah.
Like they could have 3 in before NAU has 1, but then NAU could have 5 in before they have 5.
Yeah.
They could have 7 in before they have 5, actually. Think about it.